Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised were you by the Suns winning this one?
I'm at a 30 because I can't predict what Chris Paul did last night. Skip, this is getting ridiculous now. The last three closeout games. This is what he did. In Game 6 against the Clippers, 41 points on 16 of 24 shooting, 7 of 8 from the three-point line. In the 4-game sweep of the Denver Nuggets, he's 37 points, 14 of 19, no threes, but he was 9 of 9. And then last night, the man goes perfect, 14 of 14, with no missed threes, no missed free throws, no. Only Wilt Chamberlain has ever made more without a miss, and he did both of those in the regular season. Come on, CP3. Skip, we saw what okay, Game 1, Game 3, Game 5. Games 2, Game 4. I'm like, okay, Game 6, CP3, he been off, and he goes out and does this. 33 points on 14 of 14 shooting, Skip. I thought he couldn't get any better than what he did against the Clippers and the Nuggets. This might have been even better. And this I'm running out of words what to say. And this is why that's why they call him the point guard. Skip, 68 assists, 9 turnovers. And the Pels, that was a tough, they were riled up. Alvarado played more minutes than he probably ever played before in his life. And he's playing well. And Chris like, bro, I got this. Hey, every time, and the Pels had a lead. But every time it got close in the fourth quarter, I don't know what it is about this. I don't know what it is about Chris Paul. And Wilt Chamberlain, we can say, well, Skip, them dunks and them layups. We've seen big Skip be perfect, but they dunks and layups. Chris Paul ain't getting no dunk. Chris Paul ain't laying the ball up. He's shooting jumpers. So I'm at a 30, Skip, because I just knew the Pels had this. I was like, you know what? CJ going to have one of those bounce-back games. But CJ let him down in this series, Skip. In the 2 wins, he's 8 of 19 from the 3, 42%. In the 4 losses, he's 9 of 32, 28%. And he had some great looks last night. He's had great looks throughout the series, but he just didn't cash those in. But even him not cashing those in, it took a historic performance from a guy that's barely 6 foot tall. I guarantee you, the likelihood of you ever seeing a guy the size of Chris Paul doing what Chris Paul did in a playoff game, skip regular season, we know, hey, that's not to diminish the regular season, but to do it when a lot of the chips are being shoved to the middle of the table because we know what the playoffs mean. There is no more tomorrow. You lose this series. And he came up extra. The man played like he's 7 foot tall. And he's barely 6 foot tall. So, Skip, I'm at a 30 that they won this game. Look, I know they're the 1 seed. They were, 7, 8 games clear of everybody else in the NBA. That's not to diminish it. But Chris Paul, I did not see a historic performance coming like this here. And I want to see the person that's ever predicted one of those. So, Skip, I'm at a 30.
Okay, if you were at a 30, I'm a 40. I'm a 50. I'm a 60. I'm running out of words. I told you that I still believe the Suns would win this series with or without Devin Booker because I told you I'm not betting against Chris Paul in Phoenix. But I did bet against him last night because I really thought the Pels would take it to a Game 7 back in Phoenix. And yet, Chris's home away from home, his first NBA home, was New Orleans. And he played last night like he was back home, and he sent the Pels home in their home. And Chris Paul played last night like there was no tomorrow. There was a tomorrow, but this was no tomorrow. This was another closeout game. And by the way, I have to amend his nickname of Point God. I think he's turned into a two god, right? He's a two god. I don't know about the point part anymore. He's a two god.
Man, this is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And it started a year ago against my Clippers in a game I did not see coming because I thought the Clippers were going to the NBA Finals. And here came Chris Paul at what was then called Staples, obviously. And you know what happened. You read the numbers, but he made 7 of 8 three-point shots. What Chris Paul did to the Clippers, just to refresh everybody's memory, from the 92nd mark of the third quarter through the fourth quarter, he scored 27 points on the Clippers. There was no Kawhi, obviously, but the Clippers with Paul George, playoff P, they were rolling. And all of a sudden, they got rolled over by Chris Paul.
Didn't they have Pat Bam? Pat Bam was in that game, so they had to get
remember, he was until the bitter end, and then he took a running shot at CP3, just jacked him right in the back.
He did.
And was gone. And gone from the Clippers. Okay. Here's my biggest takeaway on CP3. If possible, he has gotten much better at 36 than he was at 35 or 34 or 33 when he was very good.
Right.
Now he's all-time great.
Yeah.
And again, we see LeBron turn 37, and I see some aging effects.
Right.
But Chris Paul's going he's going Benjamin Button. And to your point, I've been all over little maestro Trae Young because they're about the same height.
Right.
But Trae Young doesn't have any physique to him. He doesn't have any
they got
stature.
totally different body types.
Totally, because Chris, they say he's vegan, but boy, he looks like he's getting his protein.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, because he can create space with his stature, with his power, with his physicality.
Right.
And what I loved about last night was little Jose Alvarado got so much acclaim for pestering, irritating, bothering Chris in the previous two games. So did Herb Jones. And all of a sudden, Chris has, we both thought, well, you can't recover fast enough to have another game in a row like this. But you just know that he stewed for 48 hours. Jose Alvarado? And he's like, do you know who I am?
He's like, man, these people actually think Alvarado can stop me.
Really? That's what happened.
That's what
And so he comes out last night and he goes, watch this. And he doesn't make his first 5 or his first 8, or he makes all 14 in a row. And I will say this. I believe that the basketball gods, for once, because he has been as snake-bitten as anybody who ever played in the playoffs before. And by the way, his overall playoff record is still only 69-66. And in a moment, I'll go through some of the flameouts.
Right.
But all of a sudden, the basketball god said, let there be CP3 tonight. Because he was getting a few bounces where I said, it's just his night, man. Right? They're bouncing around and falling in. So in the second half, they win the second half. What was it? 67-51, I believe, was the score. Yep, 67-51. Okay, but here's the bigger picture of this. The Pelicans led this game by 12, and then they led by 10 at halftime. Okay? The Pels won points in the paint 60-40. The Pelicans won the boards 36-32. The Pelicans won second chance points 18-4. They won fast break points 20-7. Yet the Suns won the second half 67-51 because Chris Paul just flat out said, I refuse to lose this game. I got it. And we always think, well, they kind of go as Devin Booker goes, and now I feel foolish because I tried at the end of the year. I said, somebody on this team needs to get some MVP consideration.
But Skip, that's why Book didn't get it.
I got it.
Because of Chris Paul. And Chris Paul got MVP consideration last year. But Skip, if you think about it, in clutch time, 5 minutes of the ball game, the game within 5, they're the best they're one of the best in the NBA. They're 35-10 in that situation.
I think they were the best.
Because of him.
Because of him.
He's going to get, every time down, he's going to get somebody a great shot. He's not going to do what Mike Conley did, travel and turn the ball over.
Mike Conley was a disaster at the end of that game. I felt for him because I like him. He's a really good guy.
But he is a true point guard. He's not looking...
Well, he's just a true leader.
He's a leader of leaders.
Yes.
But, Skip, a lot of these guys are two guards masquerading as point. And they get in a situation like that, I'm going to go create something for myself. He can create for himself, but he's looking to get the best shot available. If that's Ayton, Ayton, you're going to get the ball. If that's Bridges diving or having a wide open three, Jay Crowder, whatever the case may be, because you're going to get a great shot every time down, you're always going to be in position to have a chance to win the ball game. He's not turning it over. Hence, in 6 ball games, he had 9 turnovers, 68 assists. Could I interest you 11 to 1.5? Yeah, that'll lead the NBA every single year, that ratio. He was sensational, Skip, and I thought he couldn't get better than what he got against the Clippers or what he did against the Nuggets in the sweep when he went scored 37. But 14 of 14 for a guy that's 6 foot tall, like I said, if you're in anything with Wilt Chamberlain, man, you got to feel pretty good. Big guys, Shaq, Giannis, Joel Embiid want to be in the class. The man's 6 foot tall, Skip, and he was perfect from the floor. And not one layup. Did you see one layup? Not one.
They're all little jump shots, medium jump shots. He made 1 3. 1 3, but he only took 1 3 and made it. And the icing on the cake is he goes to the line and makes all 4 of his free throws. So he was absolutely perfect. As you could be. He did have 3 turnovers, but on a night when he's got the ball in his hands so much against Jose Alvarado and Herb Jones, it's hard, man.
Because they're picking him up 94 feet.
Yeah.
So you're playing the amount of minutes. He played 36 minutes. And it's not easy. It's not an easy 36 minutes, Skip. It's not like he gets to walk the ball up the court. Alvarado is picking him up. I mean, he's having a position just to get the ball inbounds. Herb Jones is so much taller than he is. But he would Skip, I couldn't predict this. Like I said, I picked the Pels to win. I just felt very, very comfortable that they could win this game. Yep. Going back home as well as they played, I like CJ due for a bounce back. But I'm not so sure. I mean, and think about it. If CJ gives you a little more, but he got in foul trouble, and they got in foul trouble, they did a great job of keeping the Pels off the line. Because remember, one game it was 45 to 15 discrepancy. Now it was more in line. But Chris Paul, I don't know what else to say about you, bro.
By the way, CJ, the truth is, trust me on this, he is who he wasn't in Portland because he's this guy. He's one of 5 from 3 when you really, really need him to make a shot.
You need him to be 2 or 5. If he's 3 or 5, Skip, because think about it, Skip, it's only a 6-point game, and Chris Paul was perfect.
And in the fourth quarter, when you needed CJ to make some big shots, he was 0 for 1 and scored no points. Okay, so that doesn't surprise me. He is who I thought he wasn't. But in the end, you mentioned Ayton, who went along for a great ride.
Yeah,
he only made 10 of 12 shots. 10 of 12?
Skip, they shot 60% from the floor.
Well, check this out. Here's a little stat for you that Chris Paul and Ayton's combined 24 of 26 was the highest combined field goal percentage by teammates, 92.3% in a playoff game in the shot clock era. Well, you're going to lose if they make 24 of 26 shots.
Yes, and a lot of Ayton, because early in the game, Ayton was hitting that 8 to 12 footer, Skip. He was money in the first quarter.
Don't love him banging on the boards. No. Don't love him on defense.
Yeah,
I do love him on offense.
I do think he should be a better rebounder than what he is. But Bridges gave you 18, which was good, 7 of 12. I mean, if you look at it, like you shoot 60% in a playoff game. In a playoff game, you shoot 60%.
I got it. So if you look back at Chris Paul's playoff legacy, he has been snake-bitten and star-crossed here, there, and everywhere. Because I'll just run through them quickly here. Back in 2008 against my Spurs, when they were dynastic, Chris Paul led them to a 2-0 lead, and then they lost in 7. And then 2011, it's the first round against the Lakers. It's tied 2-2, and they lose in 6. And then 2013, it's the Clippers against Memphis. They go up 2-0, and they lose in 6. They lose 4 straight. 2014, oh, man, this is semis against Oklahoma City. It's 2-2, and they lose in 6. So, see, it's just crumble. 2015, this is Houston in the semi.
They had that. Is that when they had the 3-1 lead?
They're up 3-1. They lose 5, 6, and 7 by a combined 46 points.
And it was up 1. I think in Game 5 they were up big, and then Houston went on that run.
Yeah, and then 2016, it's the first round against Portland. They go up 2-0, and they lose 4 in a row. And then 2018, the conference finals, they're up 3-2. And then he misses 6 and 7. And remember, it's the James Harden special where he just disappears twice and they lose. Another flame out in 2019. It's Houston against Golden State. It's 2-2. They lose in 6. Then 2020, it's the first round. I don't hold him accountable for this, but it's Oklahoma City in the bubble. And they're up 3-2 and they lose in 7 to Westbrook and James in Houston. And then you know what happened in the finals. They're up. I remind everybody, last year in the finals, they're up 2-0. Book pulls his hamstring, or at least strained it, but tried to go, wasn't quite right, was a little limpy, a little gimpy, a little tentative, and they lose 4 straight games. To Giannis just took the series over against Ayton in single solo coverage. Okay, so that's it's a bloody path that he's taken to this point, and yet this year in the regular season, they dominated the way nobody's ever dominated. They just ran away from everybody, and they hit on everybody. They won by 8 games over Memphis, and that's not even including the East. They won by 12 games, I think, over the Heat. Well, so Chris knows that he's not getting any younger, and so he is on a pit bull of a mission to get this thing done, to close a deal, to get back to the finals and right the wrong of last year.
Well, Skip, he's finally, if you look at what he had around him, Mikal Bridges goes 7 of 12, 18 points. DeAndre Ayton, as you mentioned, goes 10 of 12 for 22 points. You get Cam Johnson coming off the bench, goes 4 of 7, 2 of 3 from 3, 13 points. So you needed all of that with this historic performance. And I think sometimes, if you go back last year, you mentioned how they faltered, they lost 4 straight. A lot of times the ball wasn't in Chris Paul's hands. Remember, Devin Booker got it taken out of his hands by Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, he did.
When the ball's in that guy's hand, there's a calming effect. And like you said, Skip, in New Orleans, he could score. He could get you 20 and 10. He's not that scorer because he's like, well, I got other guys. I don't need to score. I got James Harden. What I need to score for? That's with James. And I got Blake Griffin, and I got these guys. So I'll just facilitate. But if he needs to, he can go get you a cool 25, 30.
Yep.
But the way he got it, he shot 1 3 and got 33 points. No layups. I ain't even worried about him dunking. I can't remember last time. I would like to know somebody tell me the last time he dunked in an actual game. He actually dunked.
I don't know. Is there an ever to that?
I don't know. I don't know. But the guy, what did he make? 14 to 14, and not one layup. Somebody got it. I'm sure. I guarantee you, Will Chamberlain had a lot of dunks and a lot of finger roll layups in that 16 for 16 and 18 for 18. But a guard that's 6 foot tall to give you that kind of performance, man, that was Chris Paul. That's when you Skip. That's when you call for the ball. Like Ja called for the ball again. What was that, game 3? And he threw it up in there. Chris Paul, go get that ball.
Yeah,
you keep that one, bro.
So I'll be the first to admit, in the fairly distant past, I've been critical of Chris, saying, he's CP0, I need a ring.
Right.
And people fire back at me, well, he's only 6 feet tall.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, but he's point guard, right? Point guard needs a ring.
Yeah, but it ain't a whole lot of points, maybe, that led a team, probably like Isaiah, Steph Curry. I mean, there ain't a whole lot of guards.
Iverson
led him to the finals. I mean, it's hard for a little man.
It's hard. And so I've said in the past, I'm afraid Chris is going to be better known for his State Farm commercials, which are all-time great, more than he is as the point guard. And yet now, as he gets better and better as he ages, he needs to finish this off.
Yes.
Because he has an all-time great resume, as is, with rings, obviously.
Nine-time assist leader. I think he led the league in steals a couple of times. He's been an All-NBA, both offensively and defensive player, Skip.
Yeah.
But I think, Skip, the thing is, people are getting an opportunity to see. But Skip, ain't nobody see him in New Orleans. No. Let's be real. When the Clippers, the games come on too late. Nobody's watching Clippers back then. Now in Phoenix, you get an opportunity to see him in the playoffs, and you get an opportunity to see just how good he is.
Yeah. I was watching him because he took the Spurs right to the brink. Then the most emotional moment of the entire night, including the NFL draft, came at the end of this game. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Willie Green is going to become the next great coach in this league. And he cried as he hugged everybody. And I get so upset with Popovich because he smiles in defeat and hugs everybody. Yeah. Willie Green is crying his eyes out. Yeah. But he's hugging one of his closest friends. Yeah. I know it's almost like a big brother, little brother, but...
Because I think they played with the Clippers together.
They did, but they are very close. And Chris says they talk by phone, obviously, almost every day. Right. Almost every day, except during this run right here. Well, that is a moment.
Yes.
And I will be the first to admit, I got tears in my eyes watching that man cry, hug that man, because that is as real as it gets at the end of an NBA game.
Skip, I'm not so sure it would have been that emotional for him had it not been the team that he had just coached with last year or he had a history with. Yeah. I'm not so sure if anybody else, the Mavericks or Utah, somebody beats him. I don't think he's that emotional. But to Skip, because you want to win this game so bad.
You want to talk about bittersweet?
Yeah,
That's as bittersweet as you'll ever see a human experience in the sports context, right?
You're happy for CP3, but man, we were so close. We had you. We were right there on the cusp. But I tell you what, Skip, he can go in that locker room and say, see, guys, that's a 60-win team. They got a Hall of Fame point guard.
Yep.
And we took them 6 games.
You did. You had them in trouble. You did.
Get better this summer and let's come back.
The New Orleans Pelicans are in great hands.
They are. Yep. They are. They got a young team. Now just get the big guy, get him healthy.
Yep.
Get him in shape. Skip, they got some. Now you talking about something.
They got something.
Yes. CP3 was.
Gentlemen, you are spot on. Willie Green is absolutely fantastic, and so many of us inside the arena last night were crying along with him, watching him. It was just such a raw, emotional moment, and everybody's excited for next season.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.